Alright, in this help, I'm going to just show you another time how to find rate of change, and then we're going to look at using rate of change to find a start value when it's not given, and then I'm going to look at using an equation to find x and y values to further with utilizing the equation. So first we're going to start with rate of change, and to find the rate of change we're going to extend our table, and we're going to be looking for delta x or change in x, delta y or change in y, and then once we have those we're going to take the delta y divided by delta x. And when we do this multiple times, we should see the same number come about, and that's our constant, or in this case, the rate of change. So as we extend this, we don't need this top row, as change means we're moving from one to another. So we'll start with the x's. We're going to go from -2 to 1, and to move from -2 to 1, the math that we can do is 1 minus -2, which is really just 1 plus 2, which means there's a distance of 3 there. Then when we go from 1 to 3, we're going to do 3 minus 1, which is 2. From 3 to 6, we're going to do 6 minus 3, which gives us a movement of 3. And then from 6 to 10, we're going to do 10 minus 6, which is 4. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing with the y values. So from 13 to 1, we're going to go 1 minus 13. We take the one that we're going to minus the one we started from. In this case, since the numbers are getting smaller, we're going to get negative answers. So 1 minus 13 is -12. Then we have -7 minus 1, which is -8. Then we have -19 minus -7. This one really turns into -19 plus 7, which again is -12. And then we've got -35 minus -19, which is going to be -16 when we put that into a calculator. So now we're going to divide all of this out, and we're going to get -12 over 3, -8 over 2, -12 over 3 again, and -16 over 4. And if you look closely, all of these will give us a rate of change that is -4. So when you divide these all out, we get a rate of change of -4. Alright, now we're going to continue on. So here we're going to use our rate of change of -4, which I have right here, to find a start value. And there are 3 ways to do this. The first way that we're going to look at is when we have an x value of that is smaller than 0. So we're going to count up or down to the 0. So we're going to start at -2, which has a y value of 13, and we're going to count to 0. So we're going to go to -1 and then to 0. Well, to do this we have to use the rate of change twice. We have to -4 twice, because that's our rate of change. So 13 minus 4 would give us 9. 9 minus 4 would give us 5. So this way tells us that the start value, which has to have an x of 0, is 5. Okay? Another way to do this is to take a number past 0 and count backwards. So here we're going to start at 1 and work our way to 0. 1 gives us 1. Now this time, because we're working backwards, instead of using the rate of change, we use the opposite of the rate of change. So instead of minusing 4 here, we're going to add 4. So 1 plus 4, again, gives us a 5. Again, it's got to be matched up with an x value of 0. Our last way is using multiplication. We can take any x value. Here I'm going to go with 3. And we can multiply it by the rate of change. So 3 times our rate of change of -4 is going to give us -12. But we want an answer of -7. So how do you change -12 into -7? Well, you add 5. So what that's telling me is our start value is at +5. So all 3 ways give us the same start value. 5 here, 5 here, and 5 here. Alright, so now we have the rate of change and the start value. If we have the start and the rate of change, we should be able to create an equation. So y equals, we go with our start value of 5, we're going to subtract 4 every time, so we need a times x to make that -4 repeat over and over. Remember, we could also write it y equals -4 times x plus 5. Okay, now what we want to look at is if we know x, and in this case we're going to go x of -8, what's the y value? And then we're going to say, okay, if y is -55, what's the x value? So we're going to look at our first situation here. X is -8. So to do this problem, we have to take this -8 and put it in for x. So we're going to get y equals 5 minus 4 times -8. Make sure you remember that we're timesing in this situation, not subtracting. Sometimes when people put a negative number in, they then mistake that negative for subtraction, when in reality it's going in for the x, which is being multiplied. So now we just follow our order of operations. We have to take 4 times -8 here. We're going to get -32. We still have our minus sign, and we still have our 5. So we have 5 minus -32, which is really 5 plus 32. So our y value when x is -8 is 37. Alright, now let's look if we know the y value. So in this situation, we know that the y value is -55. So we're going to put this in for the y. We're going to get -55 equals 5 minus 4x. Well, if you can tell here, we don't know the x value, and the x has math with it. So the only way that we know to do that right now is to use our box method. So I'm going to make my box, and we're going to go x equals here. Now we need the order of operations on the left. So the first thing we're doing to x is we're timesing by 4. But if you look in front of the 4, there's that minus sign. So this is really a -4. Because the negative sign is going with the 4, that means that we're actually adding that 5. So this is a plus 5. Then our opposites would be to divide by -4 and to subtract 5. We're going to put our answer, this -55, in the bottom and then work our way through the math. So we have -55 minus 5. Well, that is actually -60. Check your calculators if you don't believe me on that. Then we have -60 divided by -4. Negative divided by negative is going to give us a positive answer. You don't have to put that down there, so I'm going to erase it. But it's going to be positive, and we have 60 divided by 4, which is 15. So x here is 15. Alright, if there's any part of this video that you didn't fully understand or you need to see again, make sure you pause, rewind, and rewatch, as some of these things can be very tricky. But I hope that this has cleared up some problems with A, finding the rate of change, B, if you have a rate of change, finding a start value. Remember, a start value must have an x of 0. And then once you have an equation, can you put an x in and find a y? Can you put a y in and find an x? If you can do those 4 things, then you are golden on this chapter. Alright? Thank you.